What's this? He can talk that. I just said I'm going again. I all take a few seconds to shake it off. We all do this already. How excited are we today? Sorry, yeah. Let's segregate this even more. All the way tell us today, you can say, what's this? All the ladies say, I'm feeling sexy. Fellas, don't approach. Now, before we go any further, let me find what kind of day it's going to be. Anybody got a song request? This is what kind of day it's going to be. Somebody give me the first song for the day. I need to know how y'all feel it. Matter of fact, watch this. Let me get the first song from on this side of the room. Who here has a song that's going to represent the day? Don't forget everyone. I make sure I say what you do. We need a song. Y'all need to congregate? Something from Whitney Houston. Oh. I think I'm going to know. What kind of device going on over there? Y'all get your song together, right? You want something slow and smooth or something upbeat? Tonight's going to be a good night. Oh, we got to shake it off. We got tonight's going to be a good night. What kind of thing is going on here? And which one is going to be? Is it going to be I Have a Feeling? Or is it going to be Whitney? Is it going to be which one? All the Whitney raise your hand. Everybody shake it off. Everybody shake it off. Now, y'all on this side of the room. Y'all got your song representing this side of the room. What song is it? Happy? We're happy, man. Oh, you're happy? If you're happy, make some noise. We can see right now. We can, like I said, we can start with this side of the room. We got these two songs coming up and we're going to practice song. Everybody give it a round of applause for putting this event together with us, right? So we got to have to do a little bit of fun. We got to hold on to entertainment because we got to sing it in the corner with the super going on. Well, laugh it up and sing it in the corner with me coming in and all this on too. I don't even do this song and you sing it, right? Oh, we're going to microphone over there. Somebody can do this song. Oh, look at those series. What is it? How many of y'all seen this video before this song? I know some of y'all listen on it. Anybody else? Where's that now? Let's try this over side thing again. This side is y'all make some noise while enjoying yourself. Feeling me coming back strong. This side over here, y'all make some noise. I feel like it's everywhere. And look at the new section. They got the segregation of really fast. Now look at I know something they're gonna do. I know you're gonna walk over to me. And you show people from each side to volunteer themselves. This is for free money. I had to give it away. Get up to two of those over there. One of them I sent it to the message. I need to tell people, okay, we got one. This is this is not the delivery zone. Let me see here. Let me see. We got one. We got two. We got one, two. We need two more on this side now. Okay, that's one, that's two, that's three. She walked right into this matrix. We got this way. Sit down, sit down. You put the first down. And you don't know what you can trust them. These are all the second cousins and neighbors. You start right there. We still need two more now. This is over the right to the same couple spot. You should look up this way. Y'all have a couple right? But y'all got each other. Just keep it going over here. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. Keep it going. Don't want to tell them to find out. Now we got something I want to do. Y'all look at dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional families, dysfunctional marriages, dysfunctional workplaces. Leave us some dysfunctional groups. No, you are not going to do it. You are not going to handle what you do every day other than Sunday. Y'all take a cover. You got that one? Y'all take this cover. Now, stretch it a little bit. Make it a little bit round. Okay. All right. She's a little aggressive. Y'all got it? Don't break it now. Everything is functional, man. There you go. You got it? All right. This is what I need y'all to do. I need y'all to hold the whole hands. You great to me. You happy over there. I need y'all to hold the whole hands. Let me hold the whole for you. Make a circle. Make a circle. Make a circle. There you go. You might hold this beautiful lady. It's a wonderful moment. Quick on. There you go. All right. Now, let go of the hand. Put your hands through it. Through both hands in. Boom. You got it? Let me get this one. Okay, so 7. We need to put more. Let me just roll it. Put your hands through it. You got it? Now let me. Okay, we better have a little bit of fun. Y'all make some noise when I first a non-playing cute people's birthday. Y'all make some noise for them, eh? Now, this is the rules of the game. This is going to represent each side of the room. I tell you, it's all about competition today. You feel it today. So let me start over here because this is the only guy over here. So let's make sure we're on the same page. This is what I need you to do. I need y'all to get this whole roof to go around you and get back to this very same spot. Now, beautiful lady, let me see what you think you can do to get it to go around. Go ahead. You can see right now. No, you got to hold this hand. You got to hold this Facebook status now. You got to hold this hand. Let it go. No, you ain't going to Facebook. Okay, see, I know Facebook. And there's a relationship that happens before you do it. Send it around. Send it around. Oh, she sent it around. Okay, let's keep that. Yeah, let the person out. Oh, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Practice makes perfect. I know whether that's your cheat. Stop right there. Y'all want to practice go or y'all think y'all good? Y'all ain't good. Let me take a practice go. Which one y'all want to take a practice go? Pick one. Oh, it's you? I tell you, this is not looking at the TN leader. Oh, Lord. You better choose the planet you usually go past, right? You go down and choose class now. Okay, all the way. Lift this up. Slow down. Slow down. Send that back right here. Send it around. Send it around. She said, don't rest my head side up. I ain't your man. Leave it right there. Okay, folks, now you cannot let the person's hand go. Got it? Y'all got it? Okay. Now, everybody who want to make this interesting, make some noise. Okay, that's not what interesting it is. Now, this is what we're going to do. Every time you don't hear music, you send it around. When you hear music, you got to dance. You got it dance. I ain't saying how you got to dance. You could be in a little school model like when you used to wake on the bus to school. You feel like it's a rolling dance on you. But when you hear music, you dance. Okay, let's get a practice. See, you hit really slow, and so you send it around, okay? But whatever position you get when the music starts playing, you got it, okay? If there's one leg up, you keep that one leg up, okay? You all got it? Now let's see what fun this is going to get. Y'all ready? Oh, they ain't ready. You'll be ready today. 3, 2, dance. Send it around, 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 dance. Oh, she's stuck, you better dance. Oh, Lord. Send it around, send it around, send it around, send it around, send it around. Dance, girl, dance, girl. Hold the silver now, hold the silver dance, dance. Don't cheat now, don't cheat. Hold on there, Yeah, you better do that. There you go, do that shoulder thing. There you go. Wait, you can take the foot on. There you go, send it around, send it around, send it around, send it around. Jump to the whole leg. Keep the whole leg, keep the whole leg. Send it. You gotta move. Also, you gotta shake it, wiggle it, baby. Wiggle it, just wiggle it. Wiggle it, let it happen. There you go. Wiggle it, or you can wiggle it straight. You can wiggle it, guys. Wiggle it, do that. Keep it like this, Keep it like this. Send it around. There you go. Get your leg over. Now, you in the street. You butterfly over your cheek. That's cool. Don't give us the things people in the body right now. Let's know they ain't the way people. Like I said, we got a whole lot of people here, a whole lot of people saying amazing things going on. But before we go anywhere, let's not go put some more in the back end because you're really I don't think we're going to hold it back right now because we don't need the shot from the Lord. She got some interesting things she want to go ahead and let you ladies know. I ain't gonna let these ladies going to be able to appreciate what she has to say. What's on your mind, Sean?
Hi. Well, course, the graduated skin, the graduated sun damage, I also have products they're cheap today. So if you're interested,
Now, before we go any further, I know some of you that you know, ain't talked about who on the radio. We got Mr. Simeon Hall in the corner. Y'all clap for Simeon in the corner. Before you go to this school, let's give it up for the lovely Simone. Give it to the microphone right now. We got Simone out there that introduce exactly what's going to be going on today. Let's show me what she's going to do. Let me get some cat music. I'm really going to chase you.
I gotta go to church tomorrow. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome to ReCharge. I hope you came prepared to have fun. Our theme is to laugh, to love, and to live. You need a lot of that, right? And so we're going to introduce a lot of different things that we want to, that our program ReCharge is focusing on. And we're introducing actually a new movement, as you can see our shirt, See the Good. And what that is about is a male aspect of what we do. ReCharge is started off as a women's empowerment group to support, celebrate, and help women to heal, to support each other as a sisterhood, and to advance in their vision. And as a part of executing that vision, I'm talking with women, I'm talking with men, I'm listening to men. I realized that we really have a gap between us as men and women. And so coming out of that, and we're going to talk some more about it, but coming out of that is the Good Man campaign, where we want to focus on seeing the good. We do have good men out there, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Some people still need some convincing, I found, because we talked about it. You're right. But it's true, we do have some good men out there. And we want to be able to uphold and support and respect men. We can't talk about empowering girls and empowering women if we're going to put men down. We're only doing the opposite thing, right? We can't lift ourselves up to put another gender down. It's about all of us operating equally, right? And getting along and doing what we need to do. So, the Good Man campaign is getting ready to be launched. Epic for Reals is one of our producers, along with myself, and so we're going to be talking, the men are going to be talking tonight. You know, usually we come to these women's events and the women do a lot of gathering, right? And so we're gonna have this segment where we have some good men talking. There's a saying that says, what you see is what you get, right? And I found a lot of times is that we choose to see what we want to see. And so we need to change what we see. So we change what we get, right? So we're going to talk about that some more. But I want to introduce Chef Simeon Hall. Some of you may not know that he is a Bahamian celebrity chef. Give it up for him. He has actually been on the Food Network. That's right. I'm on there. He did it. And so we interviewed him as a part of the Good Man campaign. And we interviewed him in his comfort zone, which is the kitchen. And so we talked about some of the myths that we have about men is that men aren't comfortable in the kitchen. And in actual fact, the women's place is in the kitchen, right? Barefoot and pregnant, right? So we came to dispel that myth, and that Simeon is going to show us how comfortable we can be as women and men, and how the kitchen can be a place of experience and romance for men and women. So, Simeon, tell us what you're doing today.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Well, what we're doing tonight is, I guess I have sort of an obsession with Bahamian food culture. So I kind of different those. What I've done is really study the background, the history, the genetics of food culture of the Bahamas. And we can talk about that for days and days on end. But coming from a home where both of my grandmothers were chefs, one was at the Nassau Hotel, and one was famous Nova from Nova's Bakehouse. And I was around food basically all my life. I made my first omelet when I was 4, and I got my first paycheck when I was 7 from my grandmother, $15. I wasn't with. So, you know, having those kind of realisms and discovering food, I traveled pretty extensively globally just to make sure that what I felt at home was genuine, and truly it is. One of the questions I always ask in audience, and I want you to think about it just for a microsecond, what is the Bahamian national dish? What is the Jamaican national dish? So, you know, I still haven't found it out, and I've actually asked food authorities what it is. Nobody has given me the same answer yet. But what I do know is there's a distinct Bahamian style of cooking. When I travel and I put salt on the cutting board with some pepper, and I incorporate those into one another to make salt pepper, people look at me like, what are you doing? It's distinctly Bahamian. Bahamians put sour or lime on everything. Distinctly Bahamian. There's the use of gravy or sauce. Distinctly Bahamian. So what I did was, I came up with a way where you can have fire engine in one pan. So it's a stuffed fragrant rice, stuffed with braised corned beef, with steamed sauce, and then avocado. So we take pear, mash it up, put it into a sauce, combine all the flavors. So what you're going to have tonight in this gourmet setting is fire engine. So it is one of those things that I obsessed over. How am I going to do this? How is this going to work? How is it going to taste? And it took me about 8 months to really get the recipe down pat. Now I think we have it down pat. Then, by the way, I like my food. I'm not one of those chefs that cook and then don't eat when they cook. I don't believe in that at all. Not at all. So tonight, that's what we're going to have. And one of the things that we've started is we've started a restaurant series that is going pretty well. We're taking over different spaces and we're doing all these pop-ups and we're educating people about food culture. And the next one that we're having is on Saturday and it's sold out. The next one is next month and it's almost sold out. So hopefully we'll be able to get people to understand the Indian food in a different way. So yes, I do cook peas and rice, but I cook peas and rice the way that I remember that my grandmother made. So it's the peas and rice with all the stuff inside. So when men go in the kitchen, you know, a lot of men in the Bahamas grill, and grilling is a big manly thing. But I think the most amazing thing that you can do for your wife or partner is to cook. Men find men in the kitchen absolutely fantastic. But they're loving the food. So, you know, honestly, I mean, cooking for women has become a task. So, you know, we find it's very casual. Men at home and eat it, it's not a big deal. But if a man cooks for a woman, some people probably going down, hostile apologize. So, you know, they come from somewhere. So that's one of the things that we really want to get into. And actually, I'm working on 2 cookbooks now. We started it. One has to do with gender, Bahamian cooking. And then the second one is 30 recipes every man should cook his woman. So those would be the things that I think will get men back into the kitchen and get everybody doing some stuff. And I have to change it. It is a married couple, so I think it's okay. But definitely, I want to be the catalyst that the Indian men embrace this whole food movement so that we can take care of our ladies in ways that, you know, please enjoy. I have some cards here. They have a recipe on the back. And also, you can follow me on social media and stuff because a lot of what I do really is not just for me, it is for the Bahamas. Anywhere I travel, trust me, there's nobody more Bahamian than me when I go. I can tell you, next 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Miami at the Jamaican Grace Jerk Festival. The Celebrity Chef Cook-Off is on the 8th. We won it last year, so we're going to defend the title this year. It's been amazing, and I cannot complain. I mean, but it's an honor to partner with people like Simone and to help demystify cooking and all of the complexities. The book that I'm writing for men, that I think most women would probably buy and say, yeah, I need this deal. It's very simple, it's very practical, it's full of pictures and everything else. So please, when you have time, for those who love social media, follow me so that you can see a lot of the work that we're doing. And hopefully, you know, we'll do some more. So thank you very much. So yeah, like I said, it's the stuffed jasmine rice because you know the palm oil and the other rice that we have now is so bland. Jasmine rice smells like popcorn when you cook it because it actually has flavor. So it's jasmine rice with corned beef, and then we have gravy that we took and we pureed it. And then also just some avocado from the side of the road. We just puree that a little bit. And everything that we use, honestly, one of the things that I promote to is local ingredients. So I try to use as much local ingredients as humanly possible. So, and then we have some microgreens that came from a farmer. She just took those out of the ground for me this morning. So I support a lot of farms, and I hope that everybody does.
What's in the middle of the rice?
Corned beef, but I can't tell you how to get it. I can't tell you how to get it. But it will eat like fire.
Awesome, huh? So let us know when you are ready for sampling.
Get some up right now.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Simeon?
When is the book gonna be launched?
Well, we just started back on it again. The biggest thing is we don't do any publications of sort here. There's no literary agents, and there's a whole list of hurdles that you have to overcome for my genre of doing cooking. So hopefully it'll be finished and ready for publication early next year.
Come to Africa and bring it.
Sure. I hope to do some island touring and silent like I'm, you know.
And we're excited about getting the Good Man campaign on the road too, because we think that this is an important message to balance the conversation, right? I get an amen from back there. I want to introduce two representatives from the conversation. Anybody listens to the conversation with Shanique Miller on Guardian Radio? So we have two members from her male panel who are going to share with us tonight. We have Harrison Thompson and Annabelle Miller. And also, I'd like to introduce Pastor Samuel Cornish. He's also going to be on our panel tonight. And we also have Pastor Matthew Speeding, who will be on our panel tonight as well. He's not here yet. He's in his office. That's the danger of doing things where you work. So I'm gonna have to drag him out of his office. So Simeon is plating up. Who's ready to get the first sample? All right, there goes Janelle.
There you go.
Oh, come say Janelle.
Let's get it in.
Come, Janelle. Also, don't forget to Shannon at the back. She is doing a complimentary skin analysis. And I don't think it will damage your makeup in any way, right? So we're going to have to break again. You want to get an opportunity to get your skin analyzed tonight. ReCharge. And Deshaun, you also do men's faces. Yeah, so men can check out your face too. Oily, dry,
It's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing. Just know that you are. And when you
As I mentioned before, how was it, by the way? How was it? I just realized how many hospitality people we have in here. We have our special guest, one of them anyway. She's going to be coming up shortly. Sapphire J is in the house. And she's also a chef. She catered on Friday night for our retreat. And we have our participants from the retreat here. I want to put y'all on the spot right now. Janelle, maybe the only one to talk. But I want to introduce another chef that's here. Chef Krishna Smith. I'm so proud of Krishna and Janelle. I taught these young ladies back in the day. I want Krishna to talk about her business. Remember, at ReCharge, we talk about supporting one another. And many of you are here because you're supporting me. I'm so grateful for that. And so we want to support particular women who are in business, but they're here to do things. You know, people who are progressive, they want to support each other. And so that's why we have Simeon here, that's why we got Evan here. And Kesha, Chef Kesha, is the owner and operator of Essence Catering. So tell us about Essence Catering, Kesha.
Good evening, everybody. You're all doing it. Okay, everybody's having a great time. Essence Catering is a catering company, like Simone said, but we also do luncheon work. Recently certified as an international butler as well. Service. Our newest thing now is our second sister company, which is called Healthy Concepts. Last year, I was 278 pounds. And I wanted to get pregnant, and I asked how many problems getting pregnant. And my doctor suggested I needed to lose some weight. So July 18th, I started the journey of losing weight. And by September 3rd, I was pregnant. And during my pregnancy, I exercised, ran the bridge up until I was 8.5.
She never looks pregnant, I can tell you that.
Everybody's like, where's the baby? You have any baby? When are you having a baby? I'm like, 2 or 3 weeks ago. When? So my daughter is 4.5 months old now. I'm 125 pounds lighter. I still want to do 20 more miles to make sure I'm away from my weight.
No, I agree.
So now I'm just really like totally watching what I eat. I still don't have to check now. Because now I'm in moderation. So Healthy Concepts came about as a result of me wanting to have a baby. So everybody's like, oh, honey, she looks like you're pregnant. Is she gained weight? Well, I just made up my mind I was going to eat right, and I still eat 4 or 5 times a week, but in small portions. I still want KFC every once in a while, and KFC wants it. So now we have a program where we provide people with lunch and dinner, Monday through Fridays. You can place your order. Once you sign up, you get your menu on Saturday for the whole week with options. You choose which option you would like. You pick up your order from either Jeremiah East or Jeremiah West. We are now working on 3 other central locations in town. They will show you so you can get a little more accessible to people who live in the area. I think Aaron and Fitness and Action will be on our 3rd location. You'll be able to pick up your menu as well. Besides that, Jeremiah West, I think Smooth Moves Cafe launched about 2 weeks ago. So if you work West and you're looking for something to eat for lunch that's healthy, I think those expensive things on the menu is $40. One thing I wanted to do with this, I wanted to make eating healthy affordable without an excuse. So you have the options of getting whole wheat bread with no sugar. No sugar is now whole wheat bread. All of our zucchini breads are made with coconut flour. We use only olive oil. We only use 100% of products. Smoked salmon, fresh salmon, which you can get on your salmon, fly in fresh, never frozen. So right now, people feel like, oh, it costs too much to eat healthy. If you buy lunch 3 times a week, let's say $12, 3 times is 36, right? Right now, if you sign up for just lunch, you can get lunch Monday through Friday for $50. Monday through Friday for $50. Yes, ma'am. Monday through Friday for $50. 5 days. I don't know nowhere that's all, but you can. And as long as working with partners, working with Samu, working with Chef Cindy, working with other vendors, working with farmers. That's what this is all about. We help out each other, all of our businesses may survive. When we have people all about it don't work. When you spread it around, everybody gets a piece of the pie. So tonight we're going to have a real quick healthy pie. And one pie. So tonight I prepared a few options for you, just to sample. Our drink is a fever grass tea. I go for fever grass, pale tea. I go with steps 3, 4, 6. That's what I go for. So you have fever grass tea that has a little bit of guava juice, and mango juice in it. Also, our punch is made out of cranberry juice, orange juice, ginger, and a hint of cinnamon. On our food menu, for our vegetarian, we have a roasted vegetable bruschetta topped with fresh basil pesto. We have a chicken stew or sauce on a little mini salad with coconut brown apple. We have meat. Then we have a guava and green, just rolled with a bit of fish, just baked slightly. I'm missing something. Chicken broth. Yeah,
Mystery, surprise.
okay, surprise. Thank you, Sylvia. Surprise. So as we go through the evening, you'll get to sample a lot of things. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you think. And don't forget, taste out. Doesn't have to be expensive, but it can taste good. I like good taste. I like spicy. I like seasoned food. So I'm on Instagram, Stiletto Chef. I'm always in heels. I love my heels. Cooking heels. And most of these heels. Stiletto Chef.
They are classmates, so you can see they go back and forth.
So Instagram, Stiletto Chef, Facebook, Essence Catering, website, essencecatering.com, which is about to get a Facebook Chef Cindy. So we work together. So thank you, enjoy the rest of the evening, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you so much. And so now I want to call on our spoken word artist to come and share with us some of her pieces. She is a phenomenal young talent out of Grand Bahama, for our guest, for our child. And she is just an awesome child. The first time I heard her, I said, whenever I do something for ReCharge, she has to be there. Because one of her pieces just really spoke to me, spoke to what we are about. So please, let's welcome Sapphire
The name ReCharge. So basically, my ministry is, I should say, spoken word, but I'm geared more towards speaking to your spirits individually. So the first piece I'm about to do is entitled Role for Show. And where it came from was, life is hard. And whoever said that this journey is easy life. So I found it where I was going through so much, and it's like, one thing happening, then something else piling up. My Lord, can you give me a break? Like, I can't go through all of this, like I'm going to just collapse. And he was more speaking to me, saying, you have to learn how to praise me through it. And I was like, how can I praise you through all of this? Like, I can't even say thank you, Lord, for what's going on, blah, 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 because I can't see the future. I'm stuck in now. So this piece is geared towards, you send up a praise anyhow. I'm in this world lost, confused, and unsure of myself. Surrounded by people, but I chose to isolate when I was secretly crying out for help. Balled up inside, waiting to unleash this tamed beast. But I'd rather keep quiet because they're just going to say it's strong enough. Just believe. Strong. Allow me to give you a taste of what appears to be invisible, just so it can be received. Picture this. My lips pinned, face screwed, body is present with my heart so far. Standing in you, I trust, well, I thought I did. But my actions carry on like I don't know who you are. My room is dark and cold because my problems seem to froze. And I try to get rid of the stench, but the more I breathe, I sense it right under my nose. They told me to lie down at the cross, but the reality is my problems will still be there, but this I'm lost. I can cry all day about how I am the strong one, telling people to hold on because you have them in the palm of your hands, but truth be told, encouragement is hard to swallow because it appears as if for me, we have different plans. Like those plans were for me to suffer and for me to hollow. Still don't praise how I know what's running through my mind about tomorrow. Faith. Oh, faith. I thought I knew her well, but her enemy doubt started sweet talking me and he won my attention. Now I'm guilty because we ended up sleeping together. As hell began to break loose in my life, I battled with my identity in Christ. Tell me, how is it that I'm living for you, but it seems as if my life is filled with strife? I suddenly felt like Job's wife when she said, why don't you just curse God and die? See, it's one thing to stretch you, and it's another to bend and bend and bend until you break me. I sat there like a zombie, ignoring the shattered pieces falling, and on the inside, I felt myself crawling to the altar and needed the middle of my heart because I began outpouring at the sound of the word surrender me all. My mind got into the flow like waves rushing from side to side. But apparently, this is what I signed up for. But Lord, you know I tried to seek you with all my heart. All my heart was made accessible. Unknowingly and divided in parts. I gave you part of me and desired to control the rest. This is why I couldn't worship you wholeheartedly. I was only half of the process. See, in a conducive atmosphere of worship, I felt tortured. I wanted to escape, but I felt glued to my seat. You nudged me until I cried out, Lord, I yield. Though I don't understand, I yield. I said, though I don't understand, I yield. Right then and there, my worship became sincere. Peace flooded my heart as my soul started to prepare. But before then, I couldn't give up the sound, but I want to give it now a try with mine. See, I'm in my belly full of streams of living waters. But I want to release a pressure that can break these borders. 2, 3. Hallelujah! As I break every setback, every possessive mindset, every hold up, Lord, not the walls of my heart that had been built up as defense mechanism, which is frozen.
I know many people basically can relate to that. And basically the next poem that I'm about to do is entitled Strength. So what I really want to do is just speak strength over you, because many times we feel that through our weakest points, like we can't go any further, like we want to give in, but the word of God said that he uses the weak to bring the strong to shape. And he also said that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. So regardless of you feeling that you're at your weakest moment, in reality, you need to just recharge your mind and say, you know what? I'm strong, even though I feel weak at this moment, because he's within me, and greater is he that's within me. So this next piece is entitled Strengths. Trials come to make me strong. You believe you're strong because you took some bullets? Two on your side and one on your back, but he took 3 nails, one person from one side to the next, along with lashes on his back. See, I know he died for me. Christ died and came alive in me. So where my strength comes from me, you only got you, but I got you who's greater and powerful too. So you believe your strength from the gym, from lifting weights. But I gained my strength just by seeking his face, running out last any and every energy drink. That's the strength of living while those who think with my mustard seed faith that can move any mountain. See, we try to do it all from the physical. But I tell you, my strength is greater because I do it all from the spiritual. Until I try to do my own strength and I realize it's impossible. Until I have to put God to the test and I was able to put this supernatural. 2 Corinthians 4:18. Our strength is dependent on what's temporary, rather eternal. No bulletproof vest can safeguard me from the enemy's proposals. So I have to put on my full armor from Ephesians 6. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Get from head to toe, put on anointed armor. Touch not his anointed. Even if I have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will come of God should be appointed. Angels on assignment to guide my steps. See, I'm not concerned about clicks, but even having an entourage. If you can use 300 men from Gideon's army, that just goes to show you a lot about my God. I said, I'm not concerned about clicks, but even having an entourage. If you can use 300 men from Gideon's army, that just goes to show you a lot about my God. The same one to allow a little voice to the giant, but the same one to save a teenager from the mouth of the lion. See, we misinterpret our strength by the amount of pain received. 20 tattoos cannot compare to the dying from flesh daily. But he's my strength. And the strength is made perfect in my weakness. And you just see this. 1 Corinthians 9:24-27. What your work so hard to attain is considered relevant and strength to back up and whom you seek. And I said, he's my strength. And the strength is made perfect in my weakness. And you can just see this. 1 Corinthians 9:24-27. And what your work so hard to attain is considered relevant. And his strength is wrapped up in whom you seek.
You don't even know what to say out there.
No. I know, right? I think the only thing we get to right now after hearing that is hearing a song. I'm gonna sing this one, but I'm gonna call another awesome young talent. Her name is Malika. So Malika is coming forward. Malika made it to the top 4 of the local gospel search, artist search competition, 242 Untapped. And she has a business. Also, she writes wedding songs. And he also tells us what else you do. She's a Disney freak, we call her. Along with the wedding, so get started. I do a cardiac right? So give it up for her. And so much. First talk segment, actually. Chef Ashley would like for you to get one of your beverages, either grass or fruit punch, and ask you to make your way back to your seats as we prepare for our next talk segment.
Oh, I can't believe this is all done. All my words. My words in this day. The lyrics for the song.
Anybody want seconds or thirds or fourths or fifths or first? You have some more.
I gotta sing.
Josh Lloyd, right?
The book names How to Train a Mind. Everybody fed, you know, hungry when they home. Oh, what is something else?
Could you make it home? Could you make it done? When you're here, when you're tonight, you listen to me like you. Do me like you. Get your sexy on, don't be shy, girl. This is what you want to be on. Do you like you? You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to change. You don't have to change. You don't have to like I want to call now a very special friend to me, and her name is Diane Gibson. And we're going to talk. I did that song because as women, we tend to try so hard to fit in and to look right and to do all the things to most times make men happy, right? That's right. We do all that for you. And Diane, she is a personal trainer, and she is the director of Flirty Girls Bahamas. So I'm going to let her tell us what, if you fasten your seatbelts, tell you what Flirty Girls Bahamas is.
Well, when she invited me here, she didn't tell me who was going to be sitting next to me. So I'm going to behave a little bit. Flirty Girl Bahamas is a quote-unquote pleasure party company. What that means is we specialize in girls' night out parties, bachelorette parties, birthdays. But what has happened over the years is it began to transform. As a trainer in the gym, I come across women every day, and when they come in the gym because they hate something about themselves. They hate something about their body, they hate their stomach, they hate their butt. And we tap a little deeper into the stories. My office, the door is always open. My Facebook is open 24/7, literally. And what you find is, it's not only, I hate my stomach. Why do you hate my stomach? I hate my stomach because, and there's always a deeper story of a hurt. Maybe being cheated on, or something from their past. And it affects so much in these women's lives. And we do a lot of really crazy things to fit in and to try to make men happy. And we do them over and over, and they don't work, and then we try different things. We starve ourselves, some women's surgery, this and that. And I'm so happy to be sitting next to Simone because I think that we've had a similar journey where we're happier now, older, maybe not as skinny, but somehow happier. And I don't know about, I can't speak for you, but I see you and I see Raby. I think that I dare to say she feels even sexier now than she did when maybe she was 20 or 25. Shown up. In fact, you know how I met Simone? I met Simone at a
Tell them wild, like 2 pastors.
Yes, I met her at a cougar debate. So for whatever reason, she was on the cougar team, and they had a cancellation. I don't know why they called me in to be on the cougar. I don't know why. And so we were the pro cougar, why, and they just gave us a stand. It had nothing to do with, how we really felt. But anyway, they gave us a stand to say, okay, you guys are pro cougar, why it's good for older women to date younger men. And then they put us against these men who were supposed to say why it's not a good idea.
They were so weak.
They were so weak. We won. We totally won that, hands down, by the way. Oh, when we put that sexy on now, in fact, of the 4 panelists, 3 of them tried to slip me their numbers. Terrible. But anyway, to go a little deeper, what a lot of people don't know about me is I come from an entertainment background, a dance background, and I come from a background where you couldn't be skinny enough. You couldn't be tall enough. I grew up before Jennifer Lopez and Beyonce were popular. I am of the Caucasian persuasion. And so as a dancer with ballet in my background, I would be in class and I would weigh about 80 pounds, but they would say this, do something with this. And I couldn't do anything with that. And so I tried. I worked out 24/7. I started eating bags of cabbage and tea. And I tried and I could never be skinny enough until I ended up in the hospital. So being from a background, knowing what it is to have an eating disorder, but deeper than that, have that hurt inside that you're not good enough. You know, I'm sure, yes, ma'am, I know that, you know, you have that too, but coming from a woman's point of view, you can be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and do everything perfectly, and not be good enough. So, in the whole thing with Flirty Girl, we started these pleasure parties to have fun and to have a good time. And what started coming out in these parties was hurt. And I couldn't believe the stories women were telling me, or they were asking real questions about relationships and sex, and I have my husband and this is what's happening. And it started to get a little serious. And I didn't know what to do with it all, and you know, you pray about those things. And like I said, Facebook open 24/7, always available, sitting at the gym. And it almost started to turn into a counseling session. And what I realized, ladies, that the best way to keep your man, to please your man, and to make your man happy, starts with yourself. It starts with being happy with who you are at this very moment today. You don't go to the gym because you hate your body. You go to the gym because you love your body so much as it is that you want to take care of it. You want to be healthy. You want to live long. You want to take care of yourself. And when you start to radiate that self-love, confidence is the sexiest outfit you can wear, ladies.
Yes, say it,
It is the sexiest outfit you can wear.
Don't care what size, what color.
It does not, no. And in fact, it's so funny. I'm actually very glad to have myself removed from that and never to be skinny enough. And at 45 now, happier, feeling more confident, and definitely feeling more sexy than I ever have in my life. And I look back at the pictures, you know, being young, slim, being on stage and all that, but I remember the struggle and the unhappiness. Men, the best thing you can do for your lady, tell her. Tell her how beautiful she is today. Every day, every day, every day. And I really, one thing I can say about a Bahamian man, you're full of compliments. Yes, full of compliments. Now I wonder sometimes where you get these compliments from.
You're very creative.
I'm coming from Super Value, a boy in there saying if he could push my trolley. I mean, where you all come from, I don't know. So we're gonna do a little activity right now, and I'm just gonna pick some random ladies, and we're gonna just practice a sexy walk. A sexy walk, a sexy walk with confidence. Yeah. Now, I need a man though. I'm gonna borrow a man. What for girl does? We always start off with a sexy walk. We do lap dance 101. For the ladies before they go off on their close your eyes and ears, guys. Before they go off on their wedding, they're getting ready to get married, and that's what we find. It becomes almost like the village sending the new bride off because we have sometimes the mothers and grandmothers at the 30-year-old party, believe it or not. And the advice that comes from the grandmothers is priceless. Sweetie, you better take care of your man, sweetie. And they will give the true, real advice. I really respect grandmas. So I want one gentleman. Sit in. And put you right here. And any four ladies, you don't have to think you're sexy or not sexy. We're just gonna work on a walk, just a walk. A walk. They scared. They are scared. All right, I got one here. Come on, Mrs. Jones, just four. And you walk can be yours. Watch Mr. Jones, don't come to church tomorrow. And then you should be surprised because you might think you're sexy is when you're all dressed up and you got your makeup and stuff on and you think you're looking good. But for some reason, the days when I think I look the worst and I got blue in my eye and I run to the gas station for something, that will be the days when men are attracted to you. I don't get it. But it's just something in your confidence and your happiness.
That's all you do.
That's all you do. You know what? All right, come on.
One more.
Something that you got some sexy for me?
Oh, wow.
What's he trying to say? What's he trying to say? So I always tell the ladies, when you're gonna do a dance for your man, right? No, you're not gonna dance. But this is what I tell them. It don't matter if you know the dance, if you don't know what to do. It don't matter. He don't know the choreography. He's gonna be so excited he didn't even want to do this for him. No worries. What? Men are visual.
I'm scared now.
I'm scared. Men are visual. They like to see what they can get. So you must start from across the room so they can get a good look. So when you walk into a room or you walk into what you matter, whatever it is, you want to walk with confidence, a smile, don't like a strong face lady, a smile. No. Your life is cute, it's not cute. And the third thing is some eye contact, right? Because that shows your confidence. Don't be scared to look someone in the eye. But be careful because there's a fine line between a sexy stare and a stalker stare. So be careful with that fine line. So he's going to give me some sexy music. I'm saving you for last because I have a funny feeling about you. All right. You guys can take a breath. Is your husband in the room? Okay. Who is your fantasy man? Brad Pitt, Denzel Washington, Obama. Anyway, you don't have to tell us. Just imagine him there. Everybody else, there's no one else in the room. That's him, and it's you. You open the door, and there he is. You're gonna approach him like a cougar, stalking through the jungle.
Oh, wow.
So the first thing you have to do is roll the shoulders up and back. Because ladies, you always lead with the headlights. When you're walking towards your guy, yeah, some of y'all got that, some of y'all didn't. When you're walking towards your guy, you don't want to walk in like you walk to the fridge in the middle of the You ever see any of them Victoria's Secret models? Alright, they walk with confidence. Walk, 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 walk. And all you're gonna do, sit it down.
You gotta put the apron down on it.
When you get to the gym, all you're gonna do is walk around because guess what? You don't ever want to get a man not too fast. No. That's what we're talking about. So it's just a light touch, a smile, some eye contact, maybe a little conversation. Go on. Let's give them something to think about. You got some music for me? All right. Roll your shoulders down. Take a breath. Take a look. Look. She got this. She's coming over. You're very blessed to be here tonight because normally this is information on the DL for the ladies only. So what happens tonight, like in every Flirty Girl session, stays in a Flirty Girl session. You don't speak it, you don't know. Secondly, ladies, when you have superpowers like those, please use your superpowers for good and not evil. Keep that married down. Please. Make sure he's single before you put that on him because he ain't even know what to do with it. Please. You ready? I'll give you a different track now. Different style, different track, but still sexy. You got that? You played my song! You gotta go. Oh, baby! Excuse me, bring your side. They weren't wearing any booty shorts. They were not weebalicious. They didn't have the hoochie shoes on. They didn't have the bend over. They didn't have the twerk. And they're just as sexy. Remember, we're toiling, we're not burning. Get ready to cut the lights in case you get too hot on me. We're in church. It's taking a long time finding that perfect song for you.
You ready?
She is ready. But keep breathing high already. Wow. We can forget what we was talking about. All right, get right. She did it!
Sit down.
So even that including, you know, it's a big, powerful message we have to pass on to our daughters. There's a lot of images in media, social media, television. There's a lot of things going on that are very confusing to young girls and boys right now. And I think we really got to take it back, talk to your children about it, talk to your spouse about it, and talk to your girlfriends about it. You really got to find that support group, that inner happiness. And, you know, ladies, if you're not happy at 300 pounds, until you address with whatever it is inside of you, you're not going to be happy at 130 pounds. You're not going to be any sexier. Like you said, you're going to be hungry and angry.
That's right. Angry, we call it.
Yeah, you're going to be hungry. So instead, address the real issue, and everything else just tends to fall out of place. Give it up for Diane Goodson. Check her out on Facebook and all our social media if you want a Flirty Girl party. Yes. Good stuff.
So now we are ready for you to sample some of Chef Keshla's wares in a few moments. And I'm going to call Pastor Matthew up. Hot seat. This is Pastor Matthew Speeding. He's one of the pastors here at this church. And he is also called the Island Preacher, because how many weddings have you done now?
Busy year was about 1,000 a year. But I slow down, but I try to stay married too. my goal is to be home most nights each week.
Exactly. So we wanted to add Pastor Matthew to the conversation. He's obviously married so many people. You have many stories that you can share and many things you've seen about relationships. I mean, I think for many women, it's a fairy tale that we're told, right? That we grew up on to be married, like it's a badge of honor, you know? And somehow we miss the message between the wedding day and the marriage. You know, like what happens after the beautiful gown and the food and the dancing and all that wonderful stuff. You know, so tell us from your perspective what you've seen and what are some of the tips that you would share with couples, men and women.
Okay, so we're trying to squeeze 20 years into 5 minutes, right? Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I don't know your story here tonight. Most people that I have met, I would say they grow up in normal families. Normal meaning your family is broken. You know? And, that's the nice version. I can't give you the uncensored version. And I don't know, after 20 years of working with couples, the first choice my wife and I made, I may not have had the typical experience. I fell in love with my wife the second time I saw her. And maybe that's not what happens to most people. But even growing up in a broken home, my father's been married 4 times. And I said, how do you still practice? And, you know, but what happened to us is I met this girl 25 years ago. She's still with me. Her name is Allie. She's a sweet, sweet girl, Bahamian gal. You know, we both come from very large Bahamian families, but we didn't get married for 9 years after we met. And I remember I met her in a band because we were both musicians. And the second time I got to speak to her, I realized that night I was going to marry this woman. I have many sisters. I called one of them that night. I said, I found the woman I'm going to marry. And we were very young. Everybody just said, you need to slow down. You know, we didn't get married for 9 years later. But when you're at that stage in life, all you're really aware of is why you're attracted to the other person. And for those of you who are either married tonight or you're thinking about it, they say if you read every book on love and you find out all there is you can, there's about 5 stages that you could go through over the course of your life. And this happens to everybody. But the first stage we call the romantic stage. And they said there's two realities, unless you're in an arranged marriage, there's two realities that you're going to have to go through with that person. And those realities is you're very aware of what you like about that person, and you're aware of what you think you have in common with them. Now, that happens to everybody. Some people call that the honeymoon phase. But it's a beautiful stage. You should enjoy it. It's a very romantic stage. However, ultimately, you get to this other stage, and we call the second stage power struggle. You all know where I'm going with this? So power struggle is where you inevitably reach, and that's defined by two other realities, which you are now aware you do not like about that person. All right, and by the way, you're not going to change your mind on this. All right, there's no off switch for this. So you're aware of what you do not like about that other person, and you're aware of what you now believe you will never have in common with them. And this is where I would say gender differences come to bear upon it. But it's bigger than that, and most people often blame the gender issue. It's not just that, it's the families you come from. Right? A lot of us don't realize that what we call our differences, there's no escaping the people that you belong to. That's either for better or for worse. People don't realize when they say for better or for worse, they're marrying their family. So if you're a Williams and you're marrying a Roll, God knows what that means. But most people do not know enough about their identity to separate themselves from the people they come with. And that's why we have expressions like blood is thicker than water. You know? But eventually, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you cannot change your mind about what you don't like about that person. And I'm not saying you're not in love. You can still have a list of what you do like about them. You can still have a list of what you think you have in common. But let me ask you a quick question, and I ask this to every couple when we first start doing premarital counseling now. The longer you stay with that person, over time, do you think you're going to have more in common with them or less? If you have a really good relationship, do you think the longer you spend with your partner, will you have more in common with them or less? What do you think? This is not a hypothetical question. Okay. Some say more, some say less. The truth is you will have less in common. And it doesn't mean you don't have a good relationship. It just means that most of us, when we get married, don't know that much about ourselves. I hear Diane talking about she changed her mind about the way she saw her beauty, which includes the way she saw her body, which includes the way she saw her potential, her purpose. You throw any word into that. You're going to change your mind by the time you hit your 30s, and then you're going to change it again by the time you hit your 40s and your 50s, because the one thing you can't change about any of us in this room is what we call rites of passage. That's why sometimes when you talk to your great-grandparents, and you still have them, but they don't have an inkling of perspective that you have. They have a changed perspective. And so the reason you're not going to have more in common with your spouse is you're going to change what you want from life, who you think you are as a person, and what you expect by extension from other people. You know? And that's a fact. And so if you're going to be in a long-term relationship where you want to be happy with someone that you don't like some of the time, you have to pick someone who's kind enough to let you change your mind about everything. Okay? Now, I've never heard a love song that talks about that at all. You know, most love songs that I have heard, and I'm not knocking it, I love love songs. I listen to love songs. I've got over 10,000 songs in my iTunes library because I'm the wedding minister. All right? And I buy songs all the time. But by the time you get to that second stage, although there's 5 stages where you could evolve into as a couple, most people in the world never get past the second stage. And I'll tell you why. If you ever get to the point where you're now aware, let's do it one more time, what you don't like about the person, even though you like them as well, and what you now believe you'll never have in common, even though you have some things in common, the reason most people don't get past that second stage, Simone, is if they can't turn the switch on. And so you only really have we have a few choices. One is denial. You know, you can suck your teeth over that. But what most people do for the rest of their life, this is where I realized my parents' generation, the only difference between our parents' generation and our generation is they never got divorced. But it didn't mean they were happy. They were miserable with their marriage still. The thing that's changed with our generation is we're okay with deconstructing everything. And so we question everything. And if it's not working, unlike our parents, and particularly our grandparents, we will end it. Now, just because we end it doesn't mean we got better at fixing it. Because they never learned how to fix it either. They just taught each other, you don't get out. It's like the mafia. Once you're in, you never leave, you know? But the reason most couples don't get past the second stage, which we called earlier power struggle, some people call it the conflict stage, is because you can't turn that switch off. You don't really know how to live with this reality that you don't like these things about that person. And this is where you see your friends fight. And this is where you see people not get along. And it's interesting that the two words you hear in divorce court on a regular basis is irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences. Now, the assumption we're making as a society is that you are so different from me. There's no way we're going to get past this. Let me tell you why that's wrong. Believe me, because there's 3 more stages. I'm only going to go to this last one. I'm going to stop on the 3rd stage. This is a game changer. You'll never hear it in a love song, and you probably won't hear it from you and your friends. Because it doesn't happen to most of us. It only happens, I believe there's a short list of people, even in our society, that are not only together today, they're okay with being different. How many of you know married people, been married for over 30 years, and they're not cynical or grumpy? I don't know a lot of people like that. But if you want to get to that 3rd stage, you have to realize that you'll never change your mind on what you dislike about that other person. Now, there's a lot more you can say about it. But I believe that even though every generation has had a sexual revolution, one of the things you need to pick up on the fact is that every generation had a sexual revolution. There's no example in history where men have ever fully understood or been able to honor women. It's never happened. There's no point in time in history where women have been able to understand or even not resent men. So you cannot look in a macro sense to what's happening around you. You actually have to make a personal choice inside. Your choice is personal. You can't blame every man out there for the fact that your man may dishonor you or honor you instead. It's not their problem because they're still lost and looking for themselves. And you can't blame every woman for being herself because the culture doesn't teach men to value women in a broad sense. And at the end of the day, if you're old enough tonight, you're going to realize that most of life, you actually have to choose what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what your friends do. It doesn't matter what your family does. If some of you follow what your family did, we'd all get divorced. You know? I've been with my wife now 26 years, and I have learned one thing. You have to learn when family doesn't give good advice. Sometimes my family gives us the worst advice. You have to get a new family. You have to have a new tribe of people in your life that you can really confide in. Because sometimes if you listen to your friends and your family, they will tell you to either get out or get back at the person. They won't teach you how to coexist together. And this brings us to the 3rd and final point. Once you get past the romantic phase and you get to that conflict stage, that power struggle stage, you're only left with one stage, and relational experts call this the stage of cooperation. Now, I have only met a few people in the last 26 years where my wife and I would say, I love the way they have aged together as men. But here's what they did. If you cannot change your mind about the person you're with, what do you think the alternative is? If you don't like this about the woman you're with, or you don't like this about the man that you're with, what is your options as a person? What do you think? Acceptance, only realize if you do accept them, you also dislike them. I'm sorry? Change the way you think. Okay, that's good. Did someone say anything else? Okay, here's what cooperation means. Cooperation means, and by the way, this does not happen to most people, so don't go to them for advice on this. It means, and you hit the nail on the head. You are no longer going to be the person in that relationship who will assume responsibility for what they are doing wrong. You put that hat down, you take that hat off. If you're the man in the relationship, you have to say, I can no longer tell her what she's doing wrong as a woman, or a role, or as a Williams, or as an American, or as a Bahamian, whatever those labels were you had for her, you have to say that it's not my place to fix what I don't like about her. Because if you go down that road, you join centuries and millennia of people who've tried to do it. And every woman at the end of the day needs to still be a woman. And every man still needs to be a man. Now what you have to do, no one will ever tell you to do it because they don't believe in it, and they've never been told. But what you have to do is this is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do in a relationship. I tried it. It's really hard, but it works. If you're not going to try to fix what you don't like about them, you can only focus on what's broken about you. Now, the reason this is very hard to do is it's always easier to tell the other person what you don't like about them. Because you don't like it about them, and you're not going to change the fact that you don't like it about them. But people never tell us to do this because it doesn't seem to be a very strong solution. It doesn't seem to have any weight or any power, or it doesn't seem to work. But it happens to people every day who've had to forgive someone who really hurt them. You know, forgiveness is never for the person who hurts you. Forgiveness is for you. Because if you don't forgive that person, it's why we have expressions in society like adding insult to injury. You think you're hurting now? Try not forgiving them. All that pain that's swollen up inside of you will come back and eat you alive like acid in your heart. The most free people in the world are those who know how to move on with their lives. All right, and let me tell you why it really works. If your happiness tonight or this stage of your life is contingent on someone else changing, you either will wait for the rest of your life for that person to change, or are you really willing to live with this idea that you will only be happy if they get? Right? If you're already waiting for that to happen, you are in for a rude awakening. And you won't learn that lesson until you're in your 50s or your 60s, if you're wise. And I think a lot of people, they go from relationship to relationship because they didn't know what they were doing wrong in the last relationship. And so they're blaming it on that partner, that second partner, that third partner, that fourth partner. And that's why sometimes it's easier to get married. You know, but we have a saying in therapy, we say, wherever you go, there you are. All right? You know, and I've met people in their 70s and their 80s who haven't figured this out yet. They still think they have to fix the other person. And let me just close with this. You'll never hear a love song about this because we always assume you need another person to make you happy. And Diane, you said it earlier. If you don't like who you are, I don't care how beautiful she is. I don't care how successful he is. You will never be happy. It just doesn't work because you were born naked in this world. You're going to go up naked. And you have to live with yourself every day. Whatever you call your life, your reality, your careers, your finances, if you can't accept yourself with your failures, you'll never think you can actually move on with your life. You'll actually look for someone to fill that void. That person does not exist. The happiest people in the world are people who will take responsibility for their own learning curve. And the most beautiful, sexy men in the world are those who, when women are with them, they know what their challenges are. They don't even want to tell them that. The happiest women in the world don't need men to remind them of that. They tell themselves that they do something about it. And if you come home on a daily basis to someone who just accepts you as you are, I would say you are a very fortunate person. I'm telling you, because it doesn't matter what your shape is. It doesn't matter what happens to your face after 40 years. If they accept you because they accept themselves, then you take away the burden of proof in a relationship for someone to tell you what you need to do to change. You take that for yourself, and they will watch you change. And that's a beautiful person, that's a beautiful life. And that's a mouthful. You know? Did anyone answer your question?
I want to invite Pastor Cornish to come up and join her. And there was something that you said, and before I jump into the real meat of why I wanted to ask you both of you first. But I wanted to ask you, there was something you said, and you said the second time you met your wife, you knew that you wanted to marry her. How do, I think this is what women always want to know, how do men know the one?
I don't even know if there is one. I knew this girl in Canada named Rosie. And I like Rosie on Rosie, by the way. I fell so hard and fast for her after living with her for 2 years that I almost married that girl. The only reason I didn't marry that girl is I totally jacked up the relationship. I was so stupid. You know, and I don't think there is one person. Now, that's not to say that it's not, I think you should be attracted to the person. I was so attracted to my girlfriend at the time that she had a boyfriend, and I wasn't even checking for him. And his name was Henry, and he got roached. If you're familiar with the psychiatrist Carl Jung, how many of you have ever read anything by Carl Jung? He has this idea called synchronicity. It means that sometimes you're in a moment where everything seems to be working together. Just, I don't know how it works. We don't understand what's behind it, but it means that sometimes you can just be in the moment. Now, for some of us, that doesn't happen that quickly. I've met a lot of couples, and one question I ask every couple, even after marrying a few thousand couples a year, I always ask my couples, why did you fall in love? I've learned one thing, there isn't one answer. That's what's cool about it. There's an aspect of our life that's completely mystical. I think you have to choose to make that person your person on a daily basis. Because even though we had a great, almost Disney kind of start, like, man, I get out of his mind, and I checked with this other dude. I used to tell her, I said, you could date Henry, but you don't marry me. Now, I thought that all was well and good, and it wasn't. We spent the next 10 years in therapy. Because I didn't come from a family where sweetings knew how to say Henry. My father was always abusive to his children and his wives. And so I had to learn from other men and women how to love women. And I thought we were going to be okay. But I'm only here today and still married because of therapy. That's a fact. And so you can either have the right person or fall in love, and that's not the hard part. That's the easy part. The hard part is staying in love. And the hard part is allowing someone to love you when you don't love yourself. That's really hard. And the biggest thing I ever did for my wife was learn over a 20-year period how to fall in love with her. And that's true. So I used to have a six-pack, and I worry about that no more. I like my body. Seriously, I like who I am. But if you ask my wife what changed, she would tell you that I liked myself. But I was a very insecure young man. And sometimes it can take you 20 years to fall in love with yourself. Because you just live every day disliking what you see in the mirror. And for men, we define our value on our strength. And if you can't find your strength, then you don't like who you are even as a man. Women may not like their bodies. We just don't like our lives. And it's tough to be human right now. It's really hard to be a male, and it's very hard to be a female. And you have to watch who you listen to, because there's nothing on TV or literature right now. If you're lucky, you know a few good, smart people with enough wrinkles to tell you otherwise. And they may not be your friends. You may need to get some new friends. And keep your old friends if you want to, but you better have someone who's lived that path before you, so they can see into your life. And then you make that person the one. My wife, I'll close with this. She hates when I rub her belly. I rub her belly every day, because both her and I both have bellies. Now, she thinks when I rub her belly, I'm bringing out the fact that she doesn't like her body. I rub her belly because I find her beautiful. Now, I can't change her mind about how she feels about it, but I know I love her as she is. And here's a true story. Brad Pitt once wrote, he says, I realized once I married Angelina Jolie, I married the most insecure woman on the planet. And he said, it doesn't really matter that every man out there wants her. She doesn't even know how to be married to me, so I'm going to do one thing, wake up every day and figure out how to love her even more. So I can't change the way she sees herself. It's Angelina Jolie we're talking about. She is the most insecure woman on the planet. I'm just going to love her better today than I did yesterday, even if she doesn't think she's beautiful. I said, that's not going to make her my woman. So you got to work it out.
We're going to call up our other panelists, and we'll be our charges. You see how they're like smoking. You ready? I know he is ready. That's the point that I wanted to ask. I want both of you to address this question. I want us to talk about the S word, which causes so much trouble in relationships. Solution. I'll talk about the other S word. Sexy.
It is a juicy conversation. I'll stick around for this.
Submission. People feel.
I want him to go first.
Yeah.
I'll see this guys in
I call it a backup for you. People really feel that the church has really caused a lot of the challenges we have in relationships. I think the church is probably part of it, but people usually quote the Bible when they talk about submission and that women, wives, submit to your husbands. And I heard another pastor say the other day at a domestic violence workshop that it's not really how pastors teach it, it's how people interpret it. That was his view of it, that men perhaps don't understand what submission really or true submission really is, and perhaps women don't either, because women are taught how to so-called submit, and men are also taught how to so-called lead. And I use that word loosely.
In our culture, submission is more you do what I say. That's our culture. I grew up in that type of culture, and I know what it is to understand that. But we have to go back to the Bible. We can't escape from the word of God. But I don't think a woman had any problem submitting to a man who loves her. The problem comes in when you want a woman to submit, but then you don't love her. So how do you expect me to submit to you when you don't love me the way that you should? The Bible says that a man ought to love his wife as Christ loves the church. There's a whole lot to do as Christ loved the church. Because when you look at it, Christ loves you with your faults. He loves you in your mess. He loves you when you make mistakes. He loves you when you fall down. He loves you when you get up. He loves you if you're fat. He loves you if you're skinny. He loves you when you wake up in the morning. He loves you when you got makeup on. He loves you in every facet of your life. And so I think that when you love your wife the proper way, she has no problem submitting to you. My wife is sitting there. We go way back. We have a wonderful story. We have a wonderful marriage now. But we won't we can write a book on marriage. But we started dating. I go way back. I was in the club, and I could have danced with that. But I really could have danced. And she saw me in the club. How many of you in here are single? You single. She saw me in the club and I was dancing. She looked at me. She said, "I take it you don't believe tonight." Now watch this. So we danced and we drank and we talked. And it's the first time we saw her. And so I think y'all okay? So I'm kind of raw. Y'all okay? So I see that it's gonna get some. I see that it's gonna get some. So I was doing everything a man should do and treat her nice that night. And we went to her apartment and opened the door. She obviously really done. He's like coming in. She said, "Not in my house." I'm like, "If you forget, you tell me at the club." She said, "No, let it go like that. If you want some dish, you gotta wait for that." Single woman. Because right then, what that made me do was I wanted to find out. It had me curious then. See, because if she didn't give me something the first night, that would have been it. That's how I ended up marrying her, because she looked me. She tricked me. And so we dated for a while. We dated for like 4 or 5 years, and we got married. And so we had a terrible first years of our marriage. Very terrible, to the point that I shoot down She died. I was trying to kill her, she was trying to kill me. I wrote a book on that. So, and but God transformed our lives. And from that day on, she had the promise because somebody told her that you're gonna get married, your husband's gonna treat you like hell. But when God changes him, he's gonna treat you like a queen. And I made up my mind from the day I changed my life that I'll treat her like a queen. And she can sit there, she don't have to lie. She got the best. Oh my God. But she has a problem subject because I love her. And love isn't just what I say, it's what I do. Because love is more than just saying we love somebody. Because a lot of people in our behavior, we always say, I love you. We throw that word around. I love you, I love you. Love is an action word. God so loved the world that he gave. So your expression of love is to give. And the more you give to your wife, you give her not just things. I'm talking about the little things that you don't even think value in. And you give that to her. And she has no problem submitting to you. And so that's how we live our lives, you know. I can go home now.
All these other men before you get excited. To our conversation, good man, I want to welcome from the conversation, which should be the male panel, Harrison Thompson and Mandel. Good luck, this is the noise maker. And Epic for reals. What you doing? Eating on the job? Always ready, always ready. Okay. I'll sit on the hand. Y'all male bond. Wow. Hey, they are here. Give them a hand. All the good men. So tell us a little bit for those of you just joining us. Harrison, we start with you. Tell us about who you are, what you do.
I am a therapist. I've been married now for 3 months from tomorrow. So I'm brand new to this marriage game, but I've been one stop dating. When I see my wife, I always tell my boyfriend in marriage, you know. But I work with individuals, I work with young people, I work with adults, I work with young relationships, those that are engaged, those that are marriage, and even those that need help. I've seen suicide, I've had to intervene in suicide. I've been called on different scenes, so it's been a lot that I've seen in my 5 years working here with my father, Dr. Wayne Thompson. So definitely be fun and handling all the different things of this in my country. But to be observant, I don't feel good unless I'm serving people. I don't think we can actually feel fulfilled unless we are doing our service. And my goal here is to be empty. And I think that should be all of our goals, like when Dr. Nelson said, we need to be empty. So seek your passion, find it. And you find that you'll find energy with it, and you'll find that happiness. And inside of all of that is a gift. So seek those things, and you will find this life will be something that you cannot believe in.
Follow that, right?
I'm Mandel. This is like the most amazing evening for me because life for me kind of started at 30, and life for me started at 2007. I don't know what age I was then, but in 2007 I came out of prison, and it was almost like God gave me a second chance at life all over again. You wouldn't believe that between 2007 to now, I've been married twice. But the thing about it is, when you do these things and don't know how to do it well, but you have a passion because you believe that, like Pastor Corbett says, you believe that he's the best husband on this side of heaven. I believe that marriage is the best thing on this side. And regardless of the failures that I've had in marriage or the challenges that I've had in marriage, I still believe that marriage is the best thing on this side of heaven. And I'm gonna live my life going to my grave fighting to be a part of a successful marriage. I just want to thank God for the opportunity to be here and be charged up with the necessary information that's needed to have a fulfilling marriage. I'm a youth advocate. I'm involved in everything related to youth development, and I truly believe in young people being in meaningful and purposeful relationships. And that's me. That's me. That's some of me.
Everybody still wake up there?
Yes.
I see I'm sure now. All right, my name is Epic for Reals. I'm a systems administrator by day, and I'm literally turning pretty much every hobby I have into a business, from DJing, videography, photography, hosting, comedy, you name it. So once I'm done with my 9 to 5, I'm running totally different business and stuff like that. When someone mentioned this Good Mind campaign to me, I thought it was a really good idea, because I feel like there's a lot of things that men don't necessarily get a chance to say or to a forum people willing to listen. Because I tend to feel like sometimes men feel like they're walking on eggshells when they're around women when it comes to really speaking what their real opinions are. So I feel like this forum is a really good start to actually reaching out to women and giving them a real good idea on how men really think. So I'm really excited to hear what some of the questions. I know this conversation is really going to be really.
Well, the first question on the floor is, and I remember when I asked him this question first, he threw it back at me. And I said, describe a good man. And he was like, you describe a good man. And when he asked me that, I was like, what is a good man? And I realized after we had this conversation that it is kind of individual. It's based on what people see to be good. So I want to hear from all of you. How would you define, what would be the qualities of a good, you made me famous. I was an actress this week. As soon as I walked in the door, they were like, you're the woman off the commercial. Sales are up 265%. That was me though. That was in the boss commercial. But yeah, what's a good man?
I think I'm probably young, so I will take that first. I came out of prison the 7th of February 2007. But the day before that, I did not know that I was coming out of prison. And I prayed like I'd never prayed before my entire life. I moved with my grandparents in church, and I was like, God, I've mastered the streets, I've come to prison, and I've mastered prison. What else is there anything else you got left for me other than this? And I said, if there is anything else, just give me a miracle, not speak to me the rest of my life. I will tell people that you answered me yourself, and that you're real because you answered it for me. And it's like my mind started to go into what would become of what my life would become if indeed I did get that miracle of coming out of prison. And I was like, the typical Bahamian society is, what you gonna do, like me and shuffle? Everybody sees you as a typical criminal and so forth. And it's like the Lord slapped me at the back of my head and said, look at your name. And for the first time in my life, I looked at my name. He said, just add an A to it. He said, Mandela. He said, now take the A off. He said, you're the Bahamian version. He said, didn't Mandela go to prison? I said, yeah. He said, I didn't know about Joseph. Didn't he go to prison too? I was like, yeah. He said, so I did it for them. You don't think that I can do it for you? And so immediately, I believe that the best that I could be as a man was to be all that God wanted me to be. And that's what I believe, that not a good man, but a great man can be. A man who honors what God has created him.
Go ahead. I kind of agree with what he says in part. I think the good man thing is the reason I say that is because you don't know a person thing with, and you can say, okay, that person is a good man. It's based on what type of man you want. What do you want in a man? Because the quality that he has and his wife likes in him. If she can understand one day with me, I could be a good man, but you say that is a good man to me. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what you want in, what do you want. And I think it's imperative, even if you're single, like you have to. And we have a 26-year-old son, and we taught him from the day he was able to understand, to write down qualities which you want to do. It doesn't have to be a whole long list, but there are certain things that you are looking for in a woman before you marry her. And he's 26 years old. He has never yet brought a woman home to him. And I asked him why. He said, because Daddy, I find those things in a woman that I want. Now he'll date, but he'll never bring somebody home to the house. He said, the day that I do that, you know those 5 qualities that I'm looking for is in that particular woman. And so if you don't have those things listed out as, and I think this is one of the reasons why we get married and 2 years later we divorce. Because we don't know what we're looking for in a spouse. We really don't know. And so another thing is our culture, and I don't know how it is in Nassau, but in our code, if you become a Christian, you can't date. How stupid is that? And so you know, if somebody sees you on a date, oh, that's your boyfriend. Oh, you're sleeping with them. Oh, you're going with them. And so how would you get to know somebody if you don't date? And so what happens is we probably do like Pastor here, we fall in love at the first sight of a person, and then you know, that's fortunate that happened to you, God bless you. But I would have been afraid of that. You see, I would have been afraid. Because I want to know who I'm marrying. See? I want to know who I'm marrying. And so in our culture, because we're afraid to date, and we don't want people to say, oh, I can see with him, you put another man again. Like, so we're afraid of that. So now you date one person and you feel like that's the person you can marry, and you go ahead and you marry him. And you come to find 1 year later, this really ain't the person. So I would admonish single people date. Don't be afraid of people say what they want to say. Date. If you don't like him, drop him. Find somebody else and date them. And if you don't like him, drop him. Till you find the right person. You don't want to marry the first person you date because you're scared of the Christian community and what they're going to say about you. They have what they say. You see, the marriage day is only a day. The whole marriage is a lifetime. So when I say I do, I want to stay with whomever I say I do. And so in order for you to do that, you have to have qualities. What are you looking for? What are you looking for in a man? What are you looking for? And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can be looking for a rich man. Some women want it. Some women don't care about a rich man. They just want a man who is a hard-working man. See, everybody's concerns are different when it comes to what a good man is. See, and not every man. Let me destroy this myth too. If you're a Christian, stop looking for a Christian man. This foolishness that we have in church, that's why I have yours to say that. There are unsaved men that have better morals than Christian men. See, much pastors can say this is one thing we have to promise. See, there are a whole lot of unsaved men that have don't mind these cover up men in church. She can't tell about shouting the Holy And church, we become too fakey. We need to be real. And all this cover up with tongues and all this other type of stuff, come down to earth. Come down. That's for the church. When you come out of church, you need to have common sense. And if you don't do that, you're gonna end up with the wrong person and probably be married 4 and 5 and 6 times to something that you will not want to do. I've been married for like 24 years. Happily married, probably half of it.
Someone say something about that as well. Thank you, Brandon. A lot of times we ask these types of questions, but some of these questions don't have answers right away. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of us can relate to this. Sometimes you don't really know who you are till you make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I like to look at people who are a lot older. I've always had this habit. Even when I was 11 years old as a boy, I would look at my father and my mother. Even then, I would say to myself, I don't want to be like that. You know, my father was a pastor, but he was an ass. Okay? And I knew from that age, regardless of the labels and what they do and who they are, you have to go on a journey where you have to figure out what the answers really are. I think a lot of people are very idealistic, not only about themselves, but about other people. Okay? I have found that most things in life that I have learned, that I see other people learn, you have to evolve into those answers. You're not going to know those answers. Okay? I'll give you an example. A lot of people that I've met in the last 20 years to get married in their 20s, they didn't know diddly squat about their identity. So if you don't know about your identity, how could you really make a choice on who the other person is? You know, and I think therapists know this. I think pastors know this. I think people in society know this. I think if you just look around your family, you'll learn it for yourself. You know, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, including people who are single or dating or married, is they do not introduce a third frame of reference into their life. Because if you're with another person, you know, what if the person you're with, they don't know themselves that well either? Then it's he said, she said. You know that expression? Okay, it's just two perspectives, and the reason couples fight so much, whether they're married or not, is all they're doing is bouncing their opinions off of each other. And I think the biggest mistake we make is we don't actually look outside of our frame of reference to see, well, what else is there out there that could speak into our reality. And I think people in this life who make the greatest amount of mistakes are people who are isolated. And what I mean by that is you may be the most popular person in the room, but if you only care about your point of view, you're probably going to fail. You won't just fail as a man or a woman, you're going to fail as a person. Because you have never drank anything else other than your own opinions. And we're at a loss in Bahamian culture right now because there used to be a time I hear where people used to speak across generations. You know, but Nassau's changing. You know, Nassau's gone funky. I don't actually meet a lot of people who trust a lot of other people. I think we've come to a place in our society where we don't really have a lot of stories about, you know, trusting the generation that comes before you. Young people that I meet every day don't trust their parents' generation. And you're going to have to look very hard for a different group. They may not be in your church, and as I mentioned earlier, they may not be in your family. But if you really want to last in the same Paul being human, you have to figure out what wisdom there is besides your own. You know, and you know, I hear his story. My story is the same. It's not enough to be in love with someone else. It's not enough. Because being in love with yourself, another person, doesn't mean that you really have found out who you really need to be. I keep coming back to what Diamond says, you know, even the Catholic mysticism says that as you age in life, not only in your body, but in your mind, the sign that you are evolving is you should have a decrease in anxiety about life. So it doesn't really matter the mistakes you've made. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. You should be okay with the learning curve, because failure is the learning curve. And you'll keep making the same mistakes if you don't figure out there's a different way of doing it.
So you let us, just yesterday we had just a 4 hour session, so it's probably good. I will touch on something that you spoke about. One of the discouraging things or the hurtful things, or I think people call it pet peeve or something, that irks me is we are allowing our society here in the Bahamas to evolve into a society where who are you to tell me about how to live my relationship? When we came from a society as a people where grandparents and grandparents, they helped to nurture each other's marriages and the villages that they lived in. And just yesterday, we were on the talk show, the conversation, and we're talking about women. And we're saying how women ought to empower women. And the women are saying, no, we're not supposed to tell her that she isn't dressed right. Who is he to tell her that? But we lived in a society back then where Granny would step to the next Granny and tell her, girl, you ain't wearing that shirt right. You gotta wear it right. But our young people today are now adopting this thing that I ain't supposed to tell her to cover up the stuff like that and so forth. How do we get back to that old landmark? We've missed the landmarks. How do we get back there? That's important, and we're missing that. And that's what's added to the king of morality in our society.
Simona, I mean, I'll make sure we're in the vein.
Yeah, 30-second answer.
Yeah. So, now, I don't think there is any going back. I think you can only do it every generation now before you just to go full. So maybe in our parents' time, you couldn't talk to your grandparents. I mean, a lot of grandparents I know now are in their 30s. Okay, I'm just speaking straight. So if your grandmother's in her 30s, she probably didn't have as much wisdom as the grandmother used to be in her 60s, 70s used to have. But you have to find someone you can talk to. You know, I believe we're at a stage now as Canadians where we need surrogate environments. Does anyone know what a surrogate is? I actually have one biological father, but I have 3 surrogate men in my life who've been more of a father to me than my father ever was. And so you better find out if you need a different granny, you better go find out who she is. You know? I've learned just as much about being a man from women as I have from men. There's no more rules for, you know, whatever you think tradition is. I don't even have a traditional marriage. I never have. You know, I just have a normal, broken marriage, but a good one. You know, I do all the cooking, I do all the cleaning, I do all the shopping, I tell my wife to stop being involved in this relationship. But what I do have is a willingness to talk to anyone who can show me how to do it better. That's what I have. And I have invited men and women into my life for the last 30 years. My wife and I went through a rough spot. And if you don't want to go to therapy, the cheapest thing you can do is look for another couple that their wrinkles are a reflection of them learning something wisely, which means they probably made a lot of mistakes, but now here's what they would say. In hindsight, go look for those people, and they may not be related to you. I don't think there's anyone that would have to go forward. There's one promise in the New Testament. Jesus says, those of you who left your family, I will give you fathers, I will give you mothers, I will give you, doesn't say Grammys, I just throw Grammys and grandpas. I'll give you whoever you need, just you have to be willing to ask for help. So who's your surrogate family, you know? Okay, go find those people. They don't have to be behaving, but they better be wise. Okay, so sometimes you gotta drink from another well.
So, the question was what I believe a real man is. A good man is a doctor, he rubs your feet, he loves puppies, he does all the right things. And he's also sensitive. He makes a lot of money. He's not arrogant. He's assertive but not aggressive. And ladies, I want you to pinch yourself and wake up because he doesn't Or he may not be a real man, he may be one of y'all. So here's the thing. When it comes to being a real man, I narrow it down to about 3 different categories I think every man should intrinsically look for or should intrinsically search to do. And it's 3 P's. Okay? A real man protects. Not just physically, not just when you go jumping in this wild jungle out here. Because any man can buff his chest, you know, I work out, I can do that easily. But when they protect your emotions. And since tension situations, when you're talking with your girlfriends or when you're talking with my mother, I can sense tension here and step in and protect him and say, "Oh, you cannot talk. But friend, you cannot talk to the side." That's what I mean when I say protect. Another man, when a man feels as though he can be a man, he also provides. That is not only monetary. Okay, he provides you with security, he provides you with the ability to feel comforted knowing that after we argue, this relationship is still there. That's security. And then finally, the final being is priesthood. A man is going to be a man that follows God, who allows God to move in his life. You see what I'm saying here? And that also means he's able to inspire you. Those are the 3 P's I see that each and every man should be looking for. And Mandela said that he was the youngest head, I'm actually I'm 27. So do not allow my age to fool you because you're not defined by program just like our age and career. You're defined by your passion. Because see, my passion is at the breath. That doesn't happen. Nothing I can learn on this earth can influence that. That was given to me before I was born. You see, we all have those passions. When people say, how is that people talk to people who are 27 years old? Well, this is my passion. I've been studying this stuff when I was 15. You know, I grew up in a home where I see my father counsel people and I was right in the corner. You know, my father was putting his hands on people in the church and my uncles and aunts were doing those things. I was there, I was learning. Long before I was able to maybe communicate that. But I can say one thing, that a man is fulfilling those 3 P's. You can rest assured that is a real man. You know, he may have flaws. He may not verbally tell you how beautiful you are all the time. So he may get you all of the gifts, but he may not necessarily say it, or he may say it all the time, he doesn't necessarily show it. Work with that man, be patient. Now listen, the 80-20 rule, but a real man, you know, so pour into his woman. And the real woman will multiply with what man gives him, and they will bounce it back and forth. A real relationship multiplies everything that is given. So if you want toxic and poisonous substances in this relationship, women, you're going to multiply. So understand that sometimes it's not necessarily just finding the right man, it's finding those characters. It's not worrying about the specifics, it's about worrying about the future. Everything else will fall into this.
Do you have a question? I think I do. Before you respond, I really, really enjoy human nature. I like to pay attention to the way people respond to things, the way people react to things, just the way things work. And I say that to say, sometimes I say things because I don't understand how people view things and hear their viewpoints. Or sometimes I want to really see if somebody stands behind something that they're saying. And I said all that to say this, I think that a good man, which in all the other already touched from the relationship standpoint, I would say from a male standpoint, what I think another good man is. And I think that one of the biggest problems we have here in the Bahamas is the ability for one man to respect another man. I think we have a really big problem with that. Like, I don't have no problem being in there, paying attention to how the man moves, paying attention to how they set up, how they communicate. When we did the interview at Simeon's house after we were done, we sat there for another 30, 45 minutes of it, just man-to-man conversations. Battling each other's opinions about stuff, just go back and forth. I'm sitting there right now paying attention to how these men address, how they carry themselves, how professional they are, just the way that they do things. And the culture that we build here in the Bahamas is one where I can't even tell you this shop shoes you got on, because what they tell you, you like mine. So I'd rather speak from the standpoint where it's a man to a man, because the only place that I can learn how to be a man from is other men and other social involvements with things and my own interactions with other men. Now, my problem in the beginning was I was hanging around the wrong set of people. Not people who would get me in trouble, but because I put myself in a position to be sort of successful on whatever level, I was around people who weren't. So they would remind me that, yeah, you do this, you do that, which would then make me complacent. But when you put me in a room with you, doing everything with my direction going on, you do everything you do. I now have to raise my bar just to even be able to sit in this conversation with you guys. And the problem with that is you have a lot of guys that can't find those groups of people to be around because you're so self-conscious about starting that kind of conversation. I don't know a lot of people in this room, and I could walk right over there and have the most intelligent conversation with anyone. No matter where you went, say, appreciate it. What's going on, guys? Give me a card, give me a number. And I'll keep in contact with all of them. This is my second time ever seeing Cindy. And I'll let them fix the thyroid now and fly outside. You see what I'm saying? Because it's just a level of me being a man, I see another man being a man. I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes from when it comes to men actually being men. So I think the conversation will then go into the crowd, we get more, I guess, questions about what women to see if the man could be, or your own personal questions so we can answer. But I think the one side of it that never really gets addressed is men to men interaction. Because like you also said, most of the families are broken homes. So you don't ever really get around in the house. You tend to be more emotional and nurturing side to you with or worse come to worse, over emotional guy who doesn't really take responsibility for his actions. So he doesn't understand what it is to be loyal to a woman because in his house his daddy wasn't around. So what would make him stay around the woman he got pregnant? So I'll let someone take it over and bring it back into the crowd and get the questions out. I really feel like that is something that never really gets hit on addressed.
Yeah. That's so good. So, we have to do like part 2 of this, right? And so we want to ask you, the audience, as women, what do you want to know about men? What do you think? You know, what do you ever want to ask a man? Now, don't come and attack them now from some dude that may hurt your heart, right? And after this, you know, we have our guests all the way from New Jersey in the house. We have GL Douglas, the good girl of comedy. She's going to close us out tonight, so I don't want to hang up too long, but I do want you to be able to get your questions in. If you have questions for any of these men up here. Oh, all right. Oh, Chef got the mic and all. Come on, Chef.
I agree with Matthew's point. When you're young, when you're in your 20s and you get married, you don't know yourself. That's why most people who get married end up in the most wonderful relationship. Generally. My question is, I don't know about experience, I don't know for that. When I go on a date, what do I do last night? The thing is, you're too independent, you're leaving. Why is the alien, I would say, intimidated by an independent woman? And I'm trying to explain my point. I have no choice but to be independent. I have to take care of myself. I'm single. So what am I doing wrong? What am I missing?
I think sometimes we need to in class. I think that's if you're say you're a doctor, I don't want to be the lead anybody, but you can't take somebody that's way down. You can see it two different ways. And so you need a confident man who knows who is. And not only that, somebody that's a business because he's not intimidated by the business. The minute you date somebody that don't own a business and you come on as a confident person, they become intimidated. That's just the way that we are. But if I have my own thing going on and I have my own business and I talk to you, why should I be intimidated by you? If you compliment me, I compliment you. See? But I think sometimes within our culture, because we just want man, you just find anybody. Yeah, especially they've been waiting like 10, 20 years. Just anybody that look like a man, sound like a man, act like a man. Just anybody. Just give me a man. Then you find the best. So I think you need to date with you. And then you need to go those types of places that, yeah. You need to be very careful where you go today. See, because it's like perception. You can't go to the club. The Bible says, you can't go to the club to find money, because that's not for you. You see, so you have to be very careful and think of your class. And if you don't understand that, let me give you an example and then I'll just turn it back over. You know, I pastor a church, and there's a young lady in my church. She went to university, she has a doctor's degree. She started with this guy. He didn't graduate from school. And her mother didn't want to get involved with the guy. I talked to her not to get involved with the guy. She didn't listen. She ended up having a child out of wedlock. And now she's going through all the type of turmoil. She owns 4 businesses, but she's going through a whole lot of hell because she didn't listen. Because you have 2 different classes of the world. So I think you have to take classes.
Yeah, the short answer is I agree with him. Because there's so many different types of women in this world. Some like you, where they're completely entrepreneurial, especially I've been for a long time. You always jab in the kitchen channel. You've always had a vision. But you have to, I think I said earlier tonight, you'll never find someone you're completely compatible with. But at least be compatible about not having to be threatened by the things that make you great. You know what I mean? It's amazing what keeps men and women together, because a lot of times they have more differences than yes and no's. But men, I've actually met a lot of couples where that's not an issue at all. I know a lot of men with marriages that are more successful than women, but that's not an issue for them. So you have to find someone, short answer, it doesn't matter. You know, you shouldn't in any way have to step back from your success or in any way diminish your greatness. You're just going to be fishing in the wrong pool. But at the end of the day, man, think about the real reason we do what we do as people. You know, some of us, a lot of us always like to come from nothing. So our business is our identity. It's our blood, our sweat, our tears. Shouldn't have to say sorry for that. You know, I work 3 jobs. You know, it's 11 years of working 3 jobs. You know, I don't feel bad. You know, I'm married to someone that knows why I do that as well. So don't apologize. You know, you should just keep it to a first date basis. You should go out to the first date that's brought up and then run like hell. Yeah, that's short answer.
Okay, so bullet points here, just in respect of time. We usually get this misconstrued. As a man, I respect the hustle and do what you need to do. There comes a point in time where you have to make a decision whether or not I want to nurture this relationship or nurture this career, because you cannot do both. Now, if I am a man, right, and we both working, you know, at the same time, both people are trying to do what they need to do. But it comes back to this point where a man says to himself, you know what, I need to find a woman that's going to be there to nurture me. And I'm not getting that from you right now, so guess what? You're intimidating me because I don't think this is something I can settle down. If you are so focused on your career, how can I now trust this process to say that, hey, are you going to be there for me when I need you? Because I can be the man, I can be providing too, but if you're doing your own thing, I need to find someone that's going to comfort me. And that's not to bash you or something. Keep on doing it, but understand that we have to learn how to do ourselves. You know, we spend so much time pouring into our careers. We spend so much time pouring into ourselves. We spend so much time shaking hands with the right people. But we forget that we also have to learn how to nurture, how to care. Do we service one another enough in relationships? The answer is no. And so that's reflected in our dating process as well. It's no longer how can we grow together as a couple. It's where do you fit in my life. So I have a 24/7 life right now. So when I'm not studying, I'm at school. When I'm not at school, I'm working with my boss. And if I don't work with my boss, I can't get this chair. And if I can't get this chair, I can't pay my bills. If I can't pay my bills, I can't live my life. So you gotta understand, it's not about where do you fit in. It's about let me make some room for you so that you can feel as though you have the opportunity to approach me. See, I am not intimidated by my wife. My wife is a go-getter. But I said, listen, baby, you need to learn to turn that switch on and turn that switch off. And sometimes I want to come home and spend some time with my wife. I want to Netflix and chill. You understand? So it's not necessarily just about focusing on you. It's about understanding that I have to create
this opportunity here to be the table. You see what I'm saying? And just quickly, I try to repeat as much as I can when I'm on the conversation and talking about relationships. The young lady that I'm currently involved with, she said something amazing to me when I met her. She said, some women come into your life because of the fruit of your life. They see fruit and they want to bask, they want to glean from that fruit. But then you have some women that come into your life because they want to nurture the seed of your life. And it's sad in our country, in our society in the Bahamas, that Bahamian men don't know how to really open up to the nurturing of a woman. Real talk. Bahamian men really don't know how to open up to that nurturing. And when I opened up to that nurturing, I became the man that I believe God wanted me. And so you just have to be able to find that man that understands that you're a blessing.
Let's have some fun with this question before we go. Let's make it quick. You want the answer that's gonna make you feel good, but you want the answer from somebody else's perspective. Which one? You want to make us perspective? Okay. The fact that you have your own thing going on, entrepreneurial and all that, there's a lot of other women that pretty much mess it up for you. Because when you have women that have their own thing going on, there's a lot of men walking around who don't. And you have a lot of women in positions where they're making their own money, they're doing their own thing, and they start to belittle the idea of wanting or needing a man on any level. So you sort of get discredited as a man when you walk into a situation. So you have to then be careful about how you addressing his emotions and addressing how he's addressing you. Because if you care for a broken situation, you might have been in a bad relationship. I would think all the women here would think that the man has to now take that into account when it comes to dealing with her feelings or how she's reacting to things or whatever. So when you're dealing with a man walking into a situation where you may be making more money than him and all this other stuff, you have to be really cautious about how you're addressing or accepting his manhood being tainted, so to speak. Because if a man walks into a room with a woman who's doing more than him, that's sort of a punch in the chest. Because your finances isn't what's going to get her attention, so what's left? She can do her own thing without you. You have a lot of women who will tell you, I don't need you, I can make my own money. So what's really left? You as a man now have to find your way fighting to try to get her or gain her acceptance. Well, now, exactly. So now you're trying to break down this wall that isn't even really there. So you get put in a box with all these other women when I walk up to you and I know you have your own thing going on. You stereotypically think that maybe this woman is going to look at me this kind of way. Because I don't bring the same things to the table, I now feel even more insecure about myself. It was just good that he actually told you that I don't think you think you're maybe too good for me and all this other stuff like that. So that was a good thing for you. But I think all women need to take into consideration when they start to be, so to speak, independent and making their money and doing all these things, you can still respect a man and try to put yourself over there in a way that you're trying to convince him to want to marry you. I think a lot of women miss that point, that they need to try to convince a man why they would be a good wife, rather than just saying, whatever you do, I'll give you the benefits of doing me good or treating me good. Rather than saying, I'm a woman, I'm going to be the best woman to you to convince you. And you should already know that you should do the same for me. And if I don't see that, I'll walk away.
The only thing I qualify that is there's no two relationships that are right. Some men may struggle with that, but some men don't struggle with that. What should we do? Harrison said something very interesting, and this goes for men. If you're going to want to be in a long-term relationship with someone else, both of you have to find out what makes your relationship work outside of all that. There's nothing wrong with being independent. At the end of the day, men and women both still need each other. I think one thing needs to be said is we're not living in the time our grandparents lived. Some women have to hustle just as hard as men have to hustle. If our value gets devalued, if our dollar gets devalued by the IMF, which all the economists are saying, you will be working, your man will be working, your children will be working, your dog will be working. This is not the time. I read an unauthorized history of Abaco when I used to be in construction business. I got stuck up here one weekend. And in that book, I read that 200 to 300 years ago, all the women were doing construction. All the women were offloading the mailboats, because you know why? There was no men on the island. We went out to sea, catching the fish, farming land. Society has swirled so much. And all this, we don't know what it's going to be like to live in this country 50 years from now. And so I don't really think the issue is these traditional labels that we have. Yes, that may threaten and undermine some people, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what does it work for our relationship? You know, all the women in my wife's family are overachievers. They're doctors, they have their own companies, yada yada yada. My wife is like that. My wife works 16 hours a day. Now I can relate to Harrison. I have to tell my wife to turn it off sometime so that I can turn it on. Okay? She knows what my weaknesses are. So she tells me sometimes stop trying to get people pleasing so I can focus on my love for her. We all have our weaknesses, we all have our hang-ups, and you just have to figure out as a couple, what are we going to do to build what we need to have? And it may not look like someone else's relationship. But Harrison is right, you have to have balance. So it doesn't mean you have to separate your business, but no couple that doesn't build on their time together will suffer. You know, and because at the end of the day, you don't get into the relationship to be successful, you get into a relationship to love somebody and to be healthy. And you have to figure out for yourselves, what's the symbol of that place? I don't think I just want to answer that question. Some men will be insecure, so you probably shouldn't be with them. You know, some men will not be insecure, but maybe they don't love you the way you still need to be loved. At the end of the day, we should find someone who's kind enough to let us figure out who we are and who we're going to be and who we are not. You know, I don't think the happiest couples in the world have it all together. I think the happiest couples in the world take what they got, make it work anyway. Because you're only human. Marry someone who's flexible or date someone who's flexible. Because nobody knows what you're doing 20 years from now. Right? I see old people in our country who were retired, they have to get back to work now. Because it ain't cheap in Nassau. We live in the 11th most expensive country in the world. Nassau. Games, the rules have changed, everybody got to hustle. Right? I don't think there's one answer.
Beautiful question.
We have another question on the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to tell you guys y'all are doing an excellent job. Do you agree? Yes. Great concept. I have a question, just one or two experiences I've had. It seems to be like a new thing now with the man, but that should be. But what is it now that it's like this expectation for the woman to provide now? It's like, yeah, I'm encountering this thing where it's almost like it's
What you could do for me.
It's almost like what you could do. I met this guy a little while back, and he was trying to finish his home, and his thing was, I want to know what your salary is because I want to know if you can qualify to help me pay my mortgage. I'm serious. No. But no, the reason why I asked because I noticed, and I don't want to judge, but I said to someone the other day, it seems like the men that are like over 40, they seem to have it, and especially those who were raised with both mother and father, and the father was the one that provided, that they see themselves in the roles of being a provider. And what I'm seeing now, and I could be wrong, it just comes across that a lot of the men who were raised by single mothers, they see that their mother hustled, that is now there's this expectation that the woman should be the one that provides. And it just seems to me like the younger generation of men now, 30 and below, just feel like the woman should provide. And I just want some help because I don't want to have a stereotype because I grew up in a traditional home and my father was the provider. So yes, I'm a go-getter. I'm an overachiever, always been that way. But at the same token, I'm a daddy's girl. And so while I like to achieve, I like to know, listen, you can provide too. Listen, I'm gonna make it happen, but I don't want you to feel like, you know, you wanna live off me and you not do anything. So help me out here.
I still think it goes back to the guys. Yeah, like you said, fishing in the wrong pool. Because, you know, you talk to the guy, and he talks about helping to his home. I mean, we talk with him, we talk. So I think you have to know where you are in life, and you have to know what you're looking for in life, because that may be good for somebody else. Something hit me the other day, probably about a month or two ago, and what does the word help mean? Because we have a whole lot of definitions for help, but I don't think anybody ever looked it up. And it's amazing to me that I looked at it about 2 months ago. God didn't give Adam to help Eve. He gave Eve to help Adam. My question was, when I read that, it's why we always looking for man to help them, when God never said that man should help you. I just a question. See, because, you know, we see, right back to traditionally, right? The Bible says, let's go back to the Bible, and I will make this conversation happen. God never gave Adam to help Eve. He gave Eve as a helpmate to Adam. I think within myself that you women will know what you have. You have the power to make a way. And I don't think a whole lot of women understand the power that they have, that they possess. Y'all can drive us crazy. Y'all can make us the best man in the world, or y'all can take us down to nothing. You have the power to do it. I tell people all the time, my wife gave me away. I'm not ashamed to say that. I say it very well, and I say that because when we met, I was nothing. Between her and God, that's what made me who I am. Because she took me and spoke into my life, and nobody else did. I didn't have a mother. My mother died when I was 8 years old. My father, I moved over to my father's house when I was 14 years old. So I was on my own for 14. But when I met her, she changed my life totally and made me a man. See? And that's why I can stand here and say that God says that you are a helpmate. You can help that man become whatever you want him to be, because you possess something on the inside of you that I don't think that you know that you have. You can take a broke man and make him somebody. That's right. You see it, preach, brother, but you just don't know it. You possess something that we don't have. You know this, you can take a man, rock head, and I can tell him, do somebody. You can be anything. I used to preach on days and walk off the pulpit, and 1,000 people would tell me I did good. But that meant nothing to me until she said.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
What about a woman who feels you didn't deserve her time to make you fall quick and every time? How would you know that?
How would you know that?
If she don't tell you, you don't deserve her time, but if she was going to go through the troubles.
We know it. We's after you. A woman knows if a man is so good for her. I don't care what you say. You know a woman knows good for you. We act like we don't. We are denying what you said before. But we know. I knew the day that I met my wife that she was a good wife to me. And let me just give you a story. When I met, I had 2 women.
You're talking all our business.
That's okay. That's why you tell people you don't mind your life. I had 2 women. And I had 2 women. What do you bring out? And when it was time for me to get married, this is a true story. When it's time for me to get married, I looked at both of them. One was a wife and one was a woman. I wanted a wife. Any man, I don't care who you are, when it's time for you to get married, you can be with a woman all your life. You're going to look for something in that woman that's a quality to be a wife, not just a woman. And so when I looked at her, she possessed a wife quality. You see? And so a lot of young ladies today in the Bahamas think that wearing the top down, you know, showing off the fat and all this stuff. He don't mind that. He's just a one-night stand. When he looks for a wife, he's looking for qualities that a whole lot of women in our culture don't possess. And he'll be with you and he'll ride you and sleep with you and do all this stuff. When he's ready to get married,
You want a good woman. Now, I have a question. You said that women were created to help a man. And this is another question that a lot of women want to know. So we invest our time and effort and love and emotion and money and everything else and for advice. We are, as Epic says, the battery pack in your back. We do all of these things and you find somebody else. Why?
Probably, I don't think you say you always just come ahead of time. So factor that in as well. I really want to hear this too.
Harrison has something.
So you can be doing everything for your man, right? You're cooking for him, you're nurturing him, you're bigging him up, you're stroking his ego. You're supporting him when he goes out to his events, you're there with him, he's at start. You were there for the thing, you were there when he stepped, he still steps out. Commitment is a conscious decision because temptation is 24/7. A lot of people say you gotta get it out your system when you call it, right? You gotta go to the party, date, have sex, all kind of things. You gotta get it out of you. But see, that doesn't work. That only serves to breed more of that same circle. See, I tell my wife to this day, you know, we have this little thing where she points out that my type is Serena Williams type, and that's not being my wife. She said, hey, look at one day you see that. Look at one day you see the thighs. Because she understands that temptation is real, but she also has confidence in knowing that I have made a commitment. Resolve. That although when I go out there in this world, although I may see some other beautiful women that I didn't come back to you, and say I have to understand that as a man now, I cannot continue to place myself in situations where temptation can get so close to me. This is why you have to watch your friends when you get married. This is why you have to watch who you allow yourself to talk to, who you allow to talk to you. Because these modes of influence I have when coming from you to someone, or from someone else to you. And so when I told a lot of my single friends, hey, you know, no disrespect, but I can't move with y'all because I'm married now. And I understand what happens when you go by with chip. You just start up with running through the WhatsApp, and some girls come over. Maybe you have a bear in the fridge, and then everybody starts drinking, and you turn up and oops, sorry, baby. No, it doesn't happen like that. We have to become more cognizant of our situations as a whole. And so to go back to your original question, you are suffering from the mistakes of a lot of other women. There's always some woman out there enabling that broke man, that good for nothing man, think that he has the opportunity to ask you, well, how much you making? See, there's always someone somewhere that's allowing someone to do wrong continually. That's why we all, as people, when we get out into this dating, we have to deal with the mistakes of others. And so you cannot allow yourself to compromise on the standards. Because the more you compromise, the more you give in to the status quo. So understand that it's going to be a moment of solitude when you feel as though you're by yourself and you're struggling. And these men are whispering all the right things into your ear, but you seem right to that thing. But understand that the heart that is right for you is still him. He may just be in traffic. He may be changing his tire. He might run out of the gas.
Pray for brother.
Because he is fixing it. And if you compromise on that, you're going to look this way. That's how it's going to concentrate. You're going to say why. All right?
On the tail end of that, right? I love this in my last comment.
Guess what?
Please.
This, you get the last word tonight.
I want to say this to ladies. Stop being afraid to say no. Stop being afraid to say no. Again, stop being afraid to say no, because our women gotta understand that every no puts you closer to your yes. Don't be afraid to tell homeboy who asking you about the mortgage, turn down. Don't be afraid to tell them no. Because like Harrison said,
Make sure I tell them.
exactly, you understand? See, and you gotta be excited about telling them no, like, can I get the check please so we can go, because I just told this brother no. Because every no will put you closer to your yes.
Margaret, can I ask you a question? Margaret, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I need you to accept
I'm
this.
trying to stop.
Where did you see the qualities of a guy with a bad habit or bad habits that would consider him to be one of those villains? Because of the social involvement he had with the bad company and blah, blah, blah. He was a good man. But just being able to have to fit in, he has to run after the girls, he got to do this, he got terrible habits. But all he needs is the right woman to speak the right things into his ear or bring the right things into his life. How would you then not be afraid to say no because he doesn't bring those values to the table? At the forefront of he possesses things that would be a deal breaker, rather than trying to look at the big picture as he says, where do those things come from or where they manifest from? So how would you then look at that situation when you're telling them to make sure that you're not afraid to say no?
Again, like we said tonight when you were asked, what is a big man? It's different and it's unique for every individual. And you gotta know what's a deal breaker for you. And I heard my father told my sister something very, very fundamental. A few weeks ago, we had a situation in Freeport where a husband and a wife lost their life tragically to violence. And you know what my dad told my sisters? Really nice little family, but something. He said, be careful who you connect yourself to because you inherit their demons also.
Quick question, just one question, a little bit of that. How many women in here would marry a handsome man that been in jail before? Raise your hand. Handsome man that been in jail before. We got one? Anyone? We got two? Okay. Okay, let's just say there's one of those situations. If you don't even that close, you don't really want to guy. We got two people? Two?
Depends on the charge.
Depends on the child.
You go to jail for a weekend, you go to prison, okay, what are we talking about? The jail you go for a weekend.
He been behind bars.
Prison is only different.
Either way. Is there a difference to you personally? Yes, no? Yes, no?
I mean, if you in jail for parking tickets, I like that.
The reason I said that is because you personally speaking, you're a good brother. I can walk with you, I can go with you, we can do whatever. Now, just given the deal breaker of being to jail without knowing what that guy looks like, rules you out of their equation.
No, but that it rules me out of the equation of people who God set up to be in my life.
So you're literally saying, God don't love you children?
See, because if you for me, see, because the reality of it is, if God had them to be a part of my future, they would be a part of my life.
So what you're saying is,
Ladies, isn't this awesome? We're gonna do this again. Trust me.
I looked up Help Me before I came here tonight.
You did.
I looked it up. All right?
How many years have you been married?
Like 26 years.
And you just said, what? But that's the amazing thing about life. We learn every day.
Help Me means to rescue. To save and rescue. Because men do need to be rescued. That's a whole other talk. There's two words. There's two words that he, from that text, that women were supposed to be. One was companion, and one was helping. And a companion, interestingly enough, means you are the mirror opposite to that. You're not supposed to be like a man at all. You're supposed to be the mirror opposite. So God gave you your own strength. Whatever feminine means, it's supposed to be feminine. Helpmate means you're supposed to rescue the man you are with. So chew on that. We may be strong, but we're also weak. You know, and I'll just say this: usually by the time men get past their 20s and 30s, that's the first time we encounter our weakness. Society teaches us to fake it, until we hit midlife crisis. And it's just as hard for a man to love a woman as it is for a man to love God, because we take strength and take it from the wrong places. It's not until we actually encounter our weaknesses, because every person, human, men and women, we only encounter our vulnerability. Until you encounter your vulnerability, you ain't ready for nobody. And women have their way of screwing it up just as much as men do. But, it's not about those little scenarios. It's not about those scenarios where a man says something very specific to you. You can walk away from that if you want to. But, we do need to be rescued, and you need to be rescued, but for different reasons. And it ain't about just being male and female. There's so much more to that. So there is not one answer for this. But if you're going to be our helpmate, you have to help rescue us. And that usually means you have to be kind to us when we drop the ball. Now if he's still asking to pay for his mortgage, you got to go on. But it's not what people have told us. Women are here to rescue men. For men who are wise enough to let themselves be rescued. But we don't even let God rescue us because we are threatened by God. Men are threatened by God because we confuse. That's what the Bible says. His power is made perfect in our weakness. So a lot of men think being strong is to assert themselves, and that's why we tend to break things. But once we learn that vulnerability is just as powerful as strength, we're not afraid of it anymore. Because we're not afraid of being weak ourselves. So you just need to take the time. I think we all need to take the time to get to know each other. You're not going to find Mr. Right away. I may have fallen in love with her right away, but it took me 10 years of therapy to stay with her. And my wife rescued me too, because she let me fail for about 15 years until I could actually do it on my own feet. She was kind enough to let me fail. And I don't care who come around me. There's different types of attractiveness. My mentor used to tell me, as soon as you get married, every other woman is more beautiful than one. It was probably true, but still familiarity breeds contempt. You see all of her problems, but she sees yours too. But after being with her for 26 years, you don't want a gal coming around me because my wife was stuck with me when I was nobody. Of course. And that's a different kind of love. That's a loyal love. You can't get that love. You have to earn that. You have to earn it. I'll take her with the wrinkles. She takes me with my wrinkles. My six-pack is gone, but she still takes me anyway. And that's the loyal love. That's harder to find, by the way. Loyalty is hard. But you can grow old with loyalty.
Please give them a hand. Pastor Samuel Cornish, Pastor Matthew Sweeting, Harrison Thompson, Mandel Miller, and Epic for Real. Come on, give them a hand. All the good men. They're bonding. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's awesome. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce the person who's going to send us out belly aching. All right, John.